online, on your mobile, and on your smart speaker. You're listening to the voice of a new generation. This is Kick Radio.
Hi, I'm Cameron Gorman. Welcome to the South Bank podcast. I'm with Sami and Jacob Jones. How are we after yesterday's robbery, quite frankly?
I'm still not over it, to be honest, mate. My opinion keeps changing on everything. Like every 5 minutes, I get a new opinion. So I'm sure we'll get into that in a bit.
I'm just no words. I'm just literally that's it. Just no words.
Just this sound pretty accurate to the feeling I was feeling yesterday. I think I was watching the last 10 minutes of that game with my head in my hands. If you looked over at me, Jacob, and I had this guy in my ear saying, "Oh, I think we're going to nick this win," and I was saying, "No, shut up, Jacob. You're going to jinx it." Of course, they go on to get a 95th minute winner. And what do we think about that winner? About Bernardo Silva in particular?
It's like you said. It's like you said yesterday. When Chireva did it at West Ham, goal got disallowed. Bernardo Silva does it against Wolves, it gets allowed. Make it make sense.
I think same. I think in isolation, let's say the Chouameni incident never happened and that goal had happened, I'd say yeah, fair enough. You know, I can see what it stood. But because of that Chouameni incident last year happening to us, I don't see there's any difference. In fact, I'd say the Bernardo one's worse because Fabianski himself and Mikel Antonio came out and said Chouameni did nothing to impact Fabianski. You watch that, Bernardo's backing into Sarr the whole time. I mean, they were doing it all game, but he Sarr grabbed his ear or something weird halfway through the game. So he has made an impact. He is offside. And if you're going to rule out one, you've got to rule out the other. You can't keep twisting the rules to suit this narrative. So that's where the frustration comes from.
I think what's also even worse is the fact that in the VAR replay that was shown to the referee, they put out the very start where Bernardo is practically hugging Jose Sarr, and they start the replay from when the ball is already coming into the box. Now, surely that shouldn't be the case because he's clearly impacting the play after the referee has called for the corner to be taken. The only consistency at the moment is that both of these decisions have been against Wolves. Chirewa's goal last year, well, Tillman's goal, sorry, ruled out because of Chirewa's offside last year. And then this isn't ruled out. The only consistency is it being against us. And I think you can't rule out one and then not allow the other and vice versa. You've got to at least change one of those decisions for us to stop complaining about the other.
Yeah, and that's where the frustration lies for me. Because it's all we ask for is consistency. And another thing with the VAR, they need to be able to tell the fans in the ground what's going on more clear. It comes up yesterday. You know, VAR checking goal offside. Didn't say who the offside was against or anything. So me and the guy next to me and you were going, well, how can he be offside? He's headed it from about the penalty spot. And then the ref goes to the monitor. And then we're all thinking, why is the ref going to the monitor for an offside? Turns out it's whether he's impacted it. So if he's impacted Jose Sarr, but then they cut out the bit where he's actually impacted Jose Sarr when they're showing him. So I don't understand what they're trying to get out here, what they're even bothering to check. Because if he's offside, they can determine that in the VAR room. But if it's a foul on the keeper, you've got to actually show the bit where there could be a foul on the keeper.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Sammy?
I didn't really watch the whole game yesterday because I was kind of interrupted at the end. By my fellow flatmate, so that's what I do apologise for. But from what I saw, obviously we played well. The Strand Larsen getting that first goal in, we played well. That was good. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's it. A little bit of hope. And then Gavardio, you can't really complain at that, can you?
No keepers get into that,
No.
if I'm honest. How can you be a left-footed defender
Yeah.
You've only ever scored with your right foot outside the
I
box.
know. Outside the box
Bit
as well. I
tragic.
saw it and I was like, fair enough. You just can't complain. You generally can't.
Yeah,
He's
unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of players scoring these kind of worldy goals, pulling them out of the bag against Wolves at Molineux each week, and quite frankly, I'm sick of it. Whereas some
Yeah.
might say at least you're seeing good goals every week.
raise the season ticket prices because we see good goals every week. Come on.
Woo!
Not by us.
W
Didn't
for
score
some.
outside the box all last season in the league, by the way.
I know.
Uh,
There was more VAR drama in Liverpool Chelsea, with that being a talking point there as well. A penalty not given for Liverpool, which I think was the correct decision. But these stoppages, I think they need to be addressed. They're taking too long. There's not enough communication to the fans inside the ground. It causes a lot of disruption to the atmosphere as well as people watching the game. You need to understand what you're watching. You can't have fans unaware of how a game is being officiated because these standards are constantly changing.
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Same thing as what I was saying about Bernardo on earlier. I mean, I didn't watch the Liverpool Chelsea game because me and football had fell out yesterday. So I found out about it through a young kid TikTok. So it probably wasn't the best source to hear it from, but by the sounds of it, it's a mess, and that's the problem. We've had this installed for what 2019 it came in. That's 5 years, and it seems to get worse as it goes on. It doesn't get better. It's like they make it up as they go along to suit what's going on. I don't think, as much as we sing the Premier League corrupt, as I'm not going to finish it, but I don't think it's corrupt. I think it's just incompetence in our referees. I think they're just that poorly trained, poorly coached that they don't know what they're doing half the time. And then it's like, oh, referee's made a decision, so now we need to try and cover up this ref decision to make it the right narrative, what suits the Premier League. And the whole thing just stinks, to be honest.
I do have to agree, there's some kind of subconscious bias at the very least towards some of the bigger teams. And I think some of them reap the benefits of VAR a lot more than others, especially a certain team in blue from Manchester. Anyway, I think we should probably move on from the rant about VAR. Let's talk about some of the positives, because it wasn't all doom and gloom yesterday. There were some phenomenal individual performances from Jose Sarr, personal of the match, Jurgen Strand-Larsen, outfield player of the match by definite. Best match in a Wolves shirt, as you said, Jacob, and Nelson Semedo too. But I'll pass it on to Jacob. Jacob, what did you think of the best Norwegian number 9 in the Premier League?
Exactly where I need to start. I need to issue a public apology to Jurgen Strand-Larsen because I had some not too nice words about him off there in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He was absolutely phenomenal yesterday. His hold up play, brilliant finish for the goal. I know it's gone off his shin, but he's in the right place at the right time. That's what we miss. He's getting about. He looks like he wants to play for Wolverhampton Wanderers yesterday, which is what we all love to see. It tells you something when he's outshining Mateus Cunha. I thought Semedo absolutely fantastic yesterday. I thought Savinho, I really like Savinho. He made him look like nothing yesterday. Semedo, one of the best defensive displays I've seen of him. And when did he learn how to cross a ball?
Yeah.
That cross in the first goal, it's unreal. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold-esque. And then obviously Sarr coming back into the net. I thought one you didn't mention as well. I thought Santiago Bueno absolutely fantastic yesterday. I thought not just his defensive mind, his distribution. Obviously, Craig Dawson, average Dawson performance, pocketing Haaland as well. So you can't knock the players. Like I was saying to you in the ground, I thought we were going to nick this here, the way it was going. Probably shouldn't have hindsight, but the way it was going, I just thought we're going to nick this here because every player put a shift in yesterday. And where's that defending been all season? I know it's a back 5 rather than a back 4, which plays a big part. But, there's that desire there. It might be a bit of a Nuno performance back in the day where it's like you might have a lot of the ball, but you're going to make it hard for a team to score against you and look dangerous in the counter attack. I know we only had 3 shots, but we got forward into those positions a couple of times when we were on the ball. So I can't knock the performance yesterday, which is why it's even more gutting that it ended the way it did because I think we deserved something out of the game.
Yeah. That is fair. Yeah, I do agree on that as well. I agree that obviously with Semedo, Where has that Semedo been for us? Where has that Semedo been for us for the past couple of fixtures we've had? Obviously, beautiful, lovely cross into the box, and obviously Strand Larson there to obviously finish it off as well. Like you said as well, Jacob, he's there like he wants to play for Wolves, and that is what we are starting to see from Strand Larson as well, which is good. And obviously, is couple amazing saves from Sarr as well. Obviously, a couple from the low left and right hand corners as well. So it's good seeing Sarr back in good action as well. I do also think, obviously, the little layoff. Acuna obviously as well. I'll give him good rate, and obviously, rarely any shots on target as well. But end of the day, he still played his part and obviously helping out. So it was nice to see Wolves wanting to fight for the badge. Obviously, it was a shame that it led to an unfortunate decision by VAR, but it's the Wolves way, isn't it? You can't really complain about that. It's literally how it's been for us for the past couple of years now. So
I'll say I love Cunha, and I don't think he had a bad game yesterday, but me and Cam,
yeah,
at times his body language yesterday absolutely reeked. You know, it was when it was 1-0, he was putting himself about, and then it went to 1-1. It was almost like this. I mean, we spoke about it. You know, it's not going out, but we had the demo last week where it's like, is he trying a bit too hard? It looked a bit like, you know, he got to that point where he'd reached almost annoyed, where he stopped chasing balls. He was just kind of walking about the pitch, and that might be half the reason he got hooked off, because I don't know what was up with him, but there was times where we were thinking, oh, what's going on with Cunha today? This ain't like him.
I think it's because it might be different because obviously with you guys being there at the stadium compared to what we see on the stream, it's different. Like you might have seen something that we haven't seen. That's why probably our perspectives on certain players might be different. So maybe.
I think the fact that Cunha was able to be hooked off yesterday does speak levels to the performances of the rest of the team, because how often can you say that should be the right decision this season? I think I do agree with what Jacob was saying, his body language. I stand on the point I spoke to you both about before, that it is out of love. He is clearly frustrated when we go behind, when other teams draw level from positions, when we get pegged back. And ultimately, I think it's because he wants to do a lot. He wants to help out the team. But I think yesterday, it wasn't the type of game where we can lay the ball into him. He gets space to make these runs, be dynamic, as that is his strength. But yesterday was a game of like little flicks, making space, using your body, holding up the ball. They had to be smart and disciplined in their performance, whereas Cunha is a player who flourishes when given creative freedom, I think. Nelson Semedo, he just pocketed Savio. Grealish gave him a few more problems when he came onto the pitch, although he still did excellent against ultimately an England international and a £100 million player. Can you complain about him letting in a few crosses? No, he blocked half of them for corners, and I know that's ultimately the way they scored. But there's one thing I wanted to address that happened before they got their corners. Balls charging up the pitch. Gonzalo Guedes shot down, two hands in the back, pushed over. Why is that not given as a foul? They never get that winning corner. We get a free kick. Who knows what could have happened from there? Don't get me wrong, that's very hopeful. I think we would have ultimately left with a point, but in the position we're in, that point takes us one place higher up the table, and it's very crucial.
Yeah, I mean, I made this point yesterday about the Guedes foul. There's a foul which it must have been 5 minutes earlier in the centre circle. I believe it was João Gomez on might have been Foden. Exactly the same foul. Anyway, that's exactly the same. Two hands in the back, pushed him over, the left blew up straight away. So why isn't that a foul the other end? I'm not being funny. There was a time where City had a free kick on the edge of the box where Kovacic and Gomez started having, dirty dancing or whatever. Ended up in a Gomez yellow card somehow. How he's seen that, what looked like a clear dive where I was, and immediately blown up. And he hasn't blown up for that Guedes one. Is it clutching at straws? Yes, they had about 5 corners in a row. We could have got rid of one afterwards. But like I say, do corners come if it wasn't given? No. And I think the ref was poor yesterday. I'm not trying to blame the ref for losing, but I think, it was very clear who he was favouring for most of the 50-50 decisions within the game. There were some very soft free kicks given to City and some ones that I was rather frustrated we didn't get throughout the course of the game. So, but hey ho, we're Wolves. Not gonna be the last time we complain about the rest this season, is it? So
No, I did have quite a few of my friends who are Manchester City fans. Even they were complaining about the ref, saying that he was atrocious yesterday, and they agreed with me on some of these fouls. The Kovacic one you mentioned, Jacob, it looked like he kicked the ground. He goes to ground. There's not even any players around him. No contact. The ref gives a foul. Now that João Gomez booking, I think that is disgraceful. How are you giving a yellow card when the Man City player has his arms around João Gomez, pushing him over, and then you go and book the person who was rugby tackled in the box? That corner that they were waiting to be taken for, obviously we saw the ref kept delaying. It was actually 3 whole minutes that took for that corner to be taken because the ref couldn't handle it in good enough quality. Now, I think that is so poor in terms of a top division's officiating. 3 minutes of a game, that's 90 minutes is a lot of time. Sammy, what are your thoughts on all this?
I mean, it's always been known to us, obviously, that the refs haven't worked in Wolves' favour for quite some time now. We're fond of it. We're used to it. I was speaking to my friend as well, who's also a City fan. Even he said, there were some situations where he felt Wolves didn't deserve. Obviously, the João Gomez booking. Even he agreed that shouldn't have been a booking because obviously you could tell Kovacic wrapping his arms around João, and just in terms of just officiating the whole game as well. Obviously, there were a couple situations in the game where I was like, is that really a foul? Was it really a tackle? But obviously, if it's City against Wolves, it's not going to work in our favour in terms of getting what we want from the refs, isn't it? So, yeah, I think what we've just got to do is obviously we didn't play bad. That's what I'm annoyed about. We didn't play bad. We played well. We played really well, and obviously it was just that last couple seconds of the game that just costed us. It was one of them, and then obviously with VAR as well. You just can't hate about it. You're just gonna have to, yeah. I generally just, yeah.
It's disappointment on disappointment on disappointment. A nice 3 tiers, I suppose. I think it's time to move on. Let's talk about Gary O'Neill. Is his job safe after this week, or is it more? Or is he still in the mix? I'm seeing mixed rumours this morning. Some people saying he might still be on the way out. I think after a system change, which was the correct decision, going to a back 5 instead of a back 4, where we look like conceding every 2 minutes, I think he's bought himself a bit more time, personally. But that could all be not true. Who knows? Only the owners, ultimately. But what are both of your thoughts on Gary O'Neill's job, Jacob?
I think it's a tough one because do I think he's safe? Not at all. But will he be sacked on the back of that performance? I think that'd be very harsh because I think as in terms of structure, that was certainly our best performance of the season so far. And getting sacked off the back of Man City is, for me, harsh at the best of times, especially when you've lost to them in the 94th minute. You were 20 seconds away from getting a 1-1 and arguably should have got a draw with the decision. But for me, we've got Brighton and Palace coming up. He needs 4 points out of those games for me to be safe in the job. I mean, I'm happy we've gone back to a back 5 because, like I said before, Gary O'Neill's not a bad manager. No one thinks that. If you think that, then I don't know what to do to you. But what he's trying to implement with the back 4, playing out from the back, etc., was not working at Wolverhampton Wanderers. If he's going to now move away from that, and we get those 4 points, I'm happy to have him at the club again because I like him. I think he's a good bloke. I think his man management seems good. Everyone seems happy here, But he clearly has the players on side by Lamina's comments last week after Brentford. So if he's going to transition back into this system, and like I said, the 4 points are vital, keep on board. But if that was just for Manchester City, and we see a back 4 at Brighton, and we're cut open again, then I think it is time to wave goodbye, unfortunately.
Mm.
Sami, what are your thoughts?
Sorry, you keep you're really quiet. You're really quiet. Hang on. There we go. What did you say? Sorry.
What are your thoughts?
I think. See, in terms of the last episode on the podcast, obviously we saw how how we played against Brentford. It wasn't the best, and obviously we saw where the problems were. That's why our feelings towards Gary and Neil were quite strong. But what we saw against City, like Jacob said, it wasn't a bad performance. It wasn't. Like, I genuinely think just a couple clerical errors that just needed a little bit of tweaking, and one of our best performances. I don't think Gary's job should be like on the line for it. No, I don't. I think obviously if you saw what he did for us last season as well, in terms of how we started off in last season, how we thought we was going to get relegated, and then we turned out to actually survive relegation battle. So I think in terms, obviously, you got to give him faith. He is a good manager. I just think we have been obviously unfortunate with the fixtures so far, but hopefully we see the Gary and Neil that magic turn around soon.
I do have to agree. These next few fixtures are season defining, honestly. I think Palace is a must win. I think if we don't win against Palace, he probably should go. I'm a bit more eased about the Brighton result, as they are on an insane run of form. They are beating everyone who is put in front of them right now. And in our position, that is not a team we want to be playing. But I think it will speak volumes as to the character of the squad. Ultimately, can we get anything from Brighton? I'm not too sure. What are your thoughts, Sammy? I'll go to you first.
See, I don't know. I think if he takes a few key players, like how from the last time we played Brighton in the Carabao Cup, obviously Goncalo Guedes, if he obviously tries fitting him into the game somewhere as well, whether that being in starting or even subbed on near enough at our time, then obviously I think that might make a good impact. I think we do need, obviously, like you said, we do need to get a result against Palace, but I don't know, because obviously Palace, they obviously beat us last season, but they're yet to win a game currently this season. So will their chance be against Wolves? I don't know. You never know. But hopefully, I think we should ideally, like Jacob said, get at least 4 points. 4 points, or if we don't achieve them, then it is time to question whether it is the manager at fault.
I mean, we never do well at Brighton, do we? I mean, I had a chance to have a ticket for this game, and I said, yeah, you can forget that. So that's volumes to our record at Brighton. But, you know, can we get? I think we can, genuinely. Because when you look, if we played the system we did yesterday, maybe with a bit more creative freedom given to players, I'd like to see someone maybe like a Carlos Forbes in there, someone who run at players and have that bit of a creative role, because we maybe lacked that a bit in yesterday's game. I think when you compare our squad with Brighton, obviously they're in such better form. There's not that much difference between players, personnel, in my opinion. If we line up in the system that suits us, honestly, a draw is a very good result. We come away with a draw from that, I'll be happy with that, or I'll be on this podcast next Monday with a smile on my face. Do I see it happening? I couldn't tell you, because I want to, but our record at Brighton, it honks. It really does. When's the last time we won there? Has it been Sace? Sace's game? I mean, there was one where we were 3-0 up and ended up drawing 3-3, wasn't there? And Sami missed in the last minute.
That was awful.
Oh, it was bad.
6-0 defeat. You were there, Jacob. Front row seat.
That, mate. Still haven't forgot about it. He Brighton away in the fixture list. He just kind of in the end.
But then again, in the league last year, was it a 0-0 draw, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it was. It was a terrible game, but good result.
Exactly. So I don't think there's any reason we can't come out with the same this year.
Mm.
Clean sheet, I doubt that much. But luckily for us, our scoring has not been our problem. Let's go on to Carlos Forbes, who you mentioned, Jacob. I think we really do have a good player there, but I think he's very raw currently. And I think he will become a top player for us.
Yeah, it reminds me of Chiquinho, and I'm Chiquinho fan club #1. But yeah, very raw but clear talent, and I think he frightens players. You see yesterday, he comes on straight away, direct at play at can't remember who it was who he took on and then put it just past the post. Very unlucky there. But
Stone.
is he a bit raw? Yes. But I think that directness is almost what we're missing at times. We're used to wingers like Sarabia, Juan, who want to almost hold up the ball and, walk into the net. No, just go guns blazing, especially if you're going to sit back. He's the perfect man to have. Just sit him on the back line and release it to him. He'll run all day for you.
Hmm.
So I just think, yeah, I do really like what I'm seeing of him so far.
Sami, how are you rating Carlos Forbes' time at Wolves so far? And what are your thoughts on his
I
performance yesterday?
I reckon he is a good. If we was to sign him, obviously he is on loan currently from Ajax. But if we was to sign him, then yes, I would. I would happily say he can become one of the best players at Wolves. Obviously, like you said as well, he does frighten players. I reckon he does. Like he scares them in a way because obviously you see he's got that angry look in his face. I don't know if you guys could see it, but how they were panning it on the TV yesterday. He was just zooming in onto his face. His face was really angry. So yeah, like he's got that like intimidating look. So it's good to nice have that little fierce at Wolves. But yeah, I reckon he will be a good a good winger for Wolves in the future.
See, it's funny, you've called him intimidating. I turned to Cameron yesterday and went, Beetlejuice is coming on because I think so much like Beetlejuice. I don't think intimidating is the word I would use to describe him. But yeah.
Nah, not intimidating, but like you know what I mean. Like it was just the way that he would just express his face. It was just like angry. I don't know.
Well, it's good to know we have a good impressionist on the wings. I
Yeah.
think personally the scariest thing about Carlos Forbes is his terrifying pace and his on the ball ability. I think ultimately we're looking at a case of a Adama Traore in terms of end product again, but that can be trained. You've got to bear in mind he is still an under 21 and he's able to make a difference to a Premier League starting 11. I think that speaks volumes to the ability that is lying within that player. Speaking of players with less ability, let's talk about a special man who made an appearance at Molineux yesterday. A rat.
Oh,
A man, a man named Rateus Nunes.
Do we have to speak about him?
I think we should just speak about one thing. What does he give to the Molineux atmosphere when we play City? I was saying to Jacob, it's like tossing a coin when Pep was going to bring him on. At one point, he was on the bench. Pep could hear the boos, sent him back to sit down. Now, I think he really did make a difference yesterday for us because he gets the whole crowd going with, ooh, it's like a
Yeah.
pantomime.
yeah. I've said before, the atmosphere at Molineux has not been as good as it's been under Nuno. Well, since Nuno's left, obviously. The atmosphere hasn't been there. But there's one game that sticks out to us last season. It was Man City, where the atmosphere was absolutely ravenous. That man got eaten alive. And it was almost like that yesterday. I'm going to be careful with what I say about this man on here because celebrate like he won the league at the end, which is a bit of a certain word beginning with W comes to mind when associated with him. And I think the celebrations for someone who came on for 5 minutes didn't really do much aside from getting booed, were a bit extreme, but each to their own. Cupped his ears to the North Bank, which you'd think someone who played for Wolves for so long would realise where the abuse comes from the South Bank, preferably not the North Bank. So it just proves to his intelligence levels as well, doesn't it? So yeah, the less said about that guy, the better, I think.
Only he was as smart as his dentist must be to try and deal with those teeth. They keep him offside. I do want to go over the Molineux atmosphere point you brought up, Jacob. I think recently it has been dipping, but yesterday I think it gave a lot of reason for the crowd to get behind the players. And I really hope we carry that forward into our next game at Molineux against Crystal Palace. But do we see the fans doing that? Because we can be quite a fickle bunch.
Yeah, it's a tough one because the atmosphere was better yesterday, but there was still phases where it died down. We've never had, like I said, with the Nuno bit, we've never had the 90 minutes of pure just. I was speaking to a United fan at uni the other day. He said when he went Wolves away, that FA Cup game, the best home atmosphere he's ever experienced in his life. And that used to be pretty much every game. They got up a bit yesterday. You heard the chants at the end of Gary O'Neill's Barmy Army even coming out. So that showed what was being seen on the pitch was resonating with the fans. Do I think it'll be the same with Palace? No. Simply because it's Palace, not Manchester City. That's simply my case. If we go a goal up, maybe. But I don't think it'll be as good, no. I think the atmosphere, I can understand why it's dipped. There's so much behind the scenes. We're not being shown on the pitch what's going on. So fans are rightly frustrated. But yeah, the atmosphere has slowly declined over the last few years. I remember Bruno Lage used to go mad about it all the time, trying to get the Billy Wright to sing at times. It's like trying to thread a needle through a haystack. It's not going to work. So, Sammy, what do you think about it, mate?
I mean, it was nice to obviously hear the Wolves fans chanting and cheering on. Obviously, when Mateus Nunes got on, obviously from hearing it from the background of the TV, it was like all the boos and everything. Even when he had the touch of the ball, it was just always boo, like always on Mateus Nunes. But yeah, like you said, like it hasn't been the same since under Nuno. But I feel like in time to come and hopes to come, we can get that atmosphere back up to where it was again.
It did get up between like Christmas and February last year when we were flying, and it was like, I'll back a bit here. But it's like Cameron said, us football fans, it's not just Wolves fans. Us football fans, we are a fickle bunch. When it's not us, we go quiet. When it's going for us, we're the first ones singing "I am Wolverhampton" and Gary O'Neill.
Yeah,
aren't we? So just how it goes.
It is.
While the fans might not necessarily be full of chants and praise, some people have been. Surprisingly, ex-Villa captain Jack Grealish, he said after the match yesterday that Wolves are a top team and he's very surprised by their position in the table because he's watched a few of our games this season against Chelsea and Liverpool and he said they were very open. I think the fact that someone like him is recognising this, I think a few managers of the opposition teams we face this season, a lot of these losses have been unlucky. They are seeing this. They are saying Gary O'Neill is the man to take us forward still. And most people do expect us to turn our fortunes around, seemingly except all these sofa fans on social media. Do you think we're in real trouble yet?
I mean, back to the point of people saying that we're not where we should be. I remember Arne Slot came out, did he, and said that Wolves are better where than what their position suggests. Sorry, and I remember Pep said before the game just gone that we're better than our table suggests. And I've heard that a lot. We have had a tough run of fixtures, but and are we better in terms of personnel than where we suggest? Yes, of course we are. We've got probably as good of a squad as we've had since Nuno's left in terms of squad depth and everything. But the system we were trying to play is why we're where we are. I know we've had tough games, but Wolves in the past couple of years would have got something out of at least one of those games, if not two of those games, just because of the system we play. If we would have played the system we played yesterday against Man City in all them games, I guarantee we would have got a result out of at least one or two of those teams. It's just, I think the system is very much to blame, and that's why a lot of the heat was directed at Gary O'Neill from me in the last few weeks. So yeah, that's where I stand on it really.
Sammy, what are your thoughts?
I'll be honest. It's literally just the same with Jacob. I generally just I think I agree with what you said and everything.
Yeah, hopefully next week we are buzzing, smiling on our faces after 3 points. But
Hopefully,
Brighton, I don't really expect much out of it. I have a feeling it will be more frowns, complaining, and looking forward to Crystal Palace. This has been the South Bank podcast. Thank you very much for listening. This is Sammy Ahmed, Jacob Jones, and myself, Cameron Gorman. And goodbye, and thank you for listening.
Bring it back now. Youth voices matter. I've been waiting for you. We are Kick Radio.